attend in person also. Please remember that while attending council meetings, whether you are a member of council, staff, or the public, it is mandatory that you use a face covering and to keep physical distancing of 2 meters from others. All chairs have been set in place for social distancing. Therefore, you are required to remain in your seat until vacating the building. Masks may be removed while seated, but you must wear your mask to vacate your seat, whether it is to approach the microphone or use the restroom. If you are approaching the microphone to address council as a delegation, to provide a citizen's comment, or to ask a question during question period, please remember to don your mask to approach the podium and microphone. You may remove your mask to speak, but you must wear your mask to return to your seat. If you need to adjust the microphone while at the podium, please remember to sanitize it after you have completed your time at the podium, and there are sanitizing wipes at the podium. Adhering to these protocols will help allow council to continue to meet in person and invite the public to gather for our meetings. And we'll start with an amendment. It's moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council amend the October 5th, 2020 council agenda by removing report 9.1 and item 13.1 and add solicitor comments to staff report 9.6. But before we vote on that, 13.1 is with regard to Councillor Bateman's request, and I think he still wanted to keep it on the agenda.
And yes, in speaking to, I reached out to AMO and Roma, and I touched base with Mayor Harrison, who has sat on it, and he had recommended to still send it because one of the council roles may be dropping out. So I'll leave it in council's hand.
So if it's okay with Councillors LeBlanc and Rowley, we'll strike item 13.1 from your amendment so it can stay on the agenda. Thank you. Sure. So it now reads that council amend the October 5th, 2020 council agenda by removing 9.1 and adding the solicitor comments to staff report 9.6. Is there any discussion? Councillor Bateman.
Hopefully this is the right spot. I'd also like to move item 5.1 and 5.2 from closed into open. Reviewing them, I didn't see what forced them into close. But
So we can deal with that under a separate motion.
okay.
He wants to amend the motion to bring the 2 items that are in closed into open session. So we'll do that I'll allow him to do that after I've finished disposing of this. Is there any discussion on this motion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. So it'll be moved by Councillor Bateman that council amend the agenda to move the closed session material into open session. Does that describe what you would like to do? Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Tadman. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Is Councillor Baking speaking of both items that we're dealing with in closed into open?
Correct.
Councillor Tadman.
The short version of closed meetings, and I reviewed George Rustai's, and also I brought our own procedure bylaws. And it says municipal meetings should be open with rare exceptions as provided for in the Municipal Act 2001 Section 239, the Ombudsman's investigations of closed meetings consider whether or not the law and best practices were followed. And it always, as far as I've understood throughout the years, is when you're in doubt, open the meeting. And I don't see anything there that I see. It wouldn't be good information for the public to be able to understand. Since we've been dealing with ammonia exceedances for quite a few years now, have had huge fines, and I think that the users, which are those that use the sewage and water, which is in the main part of the urban section, would be very interested to know how we're moving forward. And the last council supported moving forward with the MBBR, and that seems to be what we're talking about here. So I would support this motion, and I have seconded it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks. I was wondering if staff could enlighten us as to if there's anything in there that needs to remain enclosed, or if we're able to adapt these so that we can hear the information in open.
Mr. Castleman?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll speak to each one of the issues. The first item is item number 5.1, dealing with Harbor Point Pond excess soil. From my standpoint, this is a contractual issue. We're going to be speaking about the contractor perhaps being in default and liability flowing to the contractor and or the municipality. This is certainly an identifiable person. And if we were to talk about this particular issue in an open session, I would suggest very strongly that that identifiable person be here to speak on their behalf.
Do you want to speak to the MBBR project?
Certainly, the MBBR project, we have two issues that are being brought before your attention. We have an open session, which is giving council an update with respect to where we are from the MBBR project. And secondly, we have an update from our consulting engineer, Mr. Graham, with respect to a different option that is being considered. Certainly, we've had some discussions with MECP, and I think that given the past that we've had with MECP, I would strongly suggest that we not go offside the order that we have in place to get on with the MBBR project without fully understanding what the obligations are and the potential risks are. And secondly, we've issued a tender, as you're aware, for the MBBR project. And in no way do we want to try and interfere with those contractors who are preparing for that tender and submission to the municipality for our consideration on the 12th of November. So I would be mindful of those two or three items.
Thank you. Anyone else? Given the potential libelous scenario about bringing either of these into open session with regard to both the contractor on the excess soil issue, and because we do have an RFP outstanding and of course litigation potentially outstanding, I would not be interested in discussing this in open session at this time. That's not to say we won't at some future point provide information to the public when it's prudent to do so. Councillor Tadman.
Could I have a recorded vote?
You may.
Councillor Mary Tatman.
We're going to bring it. So I'm saying yes, that I want it brought and open. That's the move. That's the motion.
That is the motion.
Deputy Mayor Laura Vink.
No.
Councillor Ron Anderson.
No.
Councillor Mark Bateman.
Yes.
Councillor Doug LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councillor Emily Rowley,
No.
Mayor Brian Ostrander.
No.
It's defeated.
And I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council approve the October 5th, 2020 council meeting agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Deputy Mayor?
I don't have an announcement. I just wanted to address something that I said at the last meeting, if that's, if I have permission to do so. So at the September 21st council meeting, while discussing agenda item 9.8, I made a comment about being tired of the anger and hatred that we as council had been threatened and received numerous emails and phone calls about the motion regarding this issue. I've since received an email from a citizen who was outraged by my comments and was concerned that I had painted everyone that communicated with council on this topic with the same brush. So I just wanted to just say a few words about that. To be clear, I was not commenting on a particular person or group. I was simply highlighting a growing issue. As a councillor, I represent all of Brighton. My job is to weigh out all the information that is before me, as well as to make, take into consideration the comments I have received from the public. This may sound easy, but really it's quite difficult. No matter how I vote, I will always disappoint someone. So increasingly, we as council are receiving more angry, aggressive communication, and it frustrates me. It's difficult enough to make a good balanced decision. And when someone presents information in an aggressive manner, automatically, and this is a human thing, the brain has a hard time focusing on the issue because it's occupied with figuring out what to do with this angry person. Respectful communication between members of council, citizens, and staff is far more effective. And that's the only point I was trying to make when I said what I said.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I just like to have council aware that as we migrate through the pandemic, if you become uncomfortable at any time with continuing the meetings the way we're doing it, we have an alternate suggestion as was provided by the clerk a couple of weeks ago. So please contact me and or the clerk to discuss any comfort level you may or may not have. And I'll remind everyone of this at every meeting, just so we're not stuck doing this if anyone's uncomfortable, any member of council is uncomfortable with the current format. As of right now, we may be the only Northumberland council that's meeting in person and with the public present. Port Hope might be, Coburg might be, but we don't have for sure answers on that. I believe Prince Edward County is, and I know that Belleville is, but I know that Quinte West is not. So whatever decisions we want to make moving forward, I leave it up to members of council to contact me and or the clerk. We move on to a motion for the approval and adoption of minutes. It's moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Tadman. The council approved the September 16th, 2020 special council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council approve the September 21st, 2020 council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening, so we'll move into delegations. Our first delegation is from HVS Consulting, presenting the accommodation study. So, Mr. Hagerman, I'll get you to introduce the consultant, please.
Thank you. So over the last, I I guess, 6 months now. We've been working closely with a consultant, HVS Consulting out of the GTA, on our hotel accommodations feasibility study. So tonight we have Charlie here to highlight the report and work towards a final draft as part of the process in getting there. And hope you enjoy some of the findings and are enlightened by it. And if there's questions, it'll all, and certain feedback, it'll all go part and parcel to creating the final report. So I'll welcome Charlie to the podium here. Sorry? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, sure.
Mr. Hagerman?
Yep. I know. That's why I'm giving him this.
Okay, so I'll just be reading my slides. All right, good evening. My name is Charlie, and myself and two other team members of HVS have conducted the market study here for a potential hotel here in Brighton. So for the study, we reviewed historical hotel supply and demand in the region. We interviewed hotel owners and management representatives in the region. We also have spoken with local stakeholders in Brighton to understand where the demand and the supply landscape is. And we also looked at our in-house database for individual hotel performance that we have collected over the years in the region before we make the final recommendation and conclusion. So our overall findings suggest that the hotel here in Brighton would compete directly with hotels in Trenton and Belleville. And there's definitely unaccommodated demand here in the region, especially in the summer leisure seasons, which is when a customer cannot stay at a hotel in the region simply because the hotel is overly booked or fully booked, or the price has been inflated so high because hotels are running near its capacity. So there's definitely, which suggests there's definitely room for new supply entering this market. However, the lack of stable and significant corporate demand here within the boundary of Brighton does serve as a competitive disadvantage when comparing with hotels in Trenton and Belleville. So as such, HVS has done location scenario analysis to determine which location would be optimal for a hotel to become feasible or successful in the future to better compete with hotels in Trenton and in Belleville. And all this data and the support are included in the report submitted, but I might go for the next 5 to 10 minutes just to highlight some of the key points in the study and welcome any questions that you may have as I go through my presentation. In terms of, so I believe everybody has a copy of the slides, which is great. Okay, so I'm moving on to slide number 2. So for hotel demand generators, the industry usually segments hotel demand generators into 3 categories: leisure, corporate, and group. For leisure segment, Prince Edward County undoubtedly is the #1 demand generator, especially in the summer seasons. And by surveying market participants, Belleville has always been the first choice when it comes to visitors coming into Prince Edward County to choose a hotel stay, followed by Trenton just because of location convenience and the room inventory that they currently have. Brighton could be either #2 or #3 in terms of the ranking because of location, but it depends on the exact location of the hotel site for us to better compete with those 2 other markets. Presque Hill Provincial Park has also been identified as a local demand, leisure demand generator by the regional hotels. In terms of corporate demand, Highway 401 is the #1 demand generator because it generates rubber tire traffic business, especially for corporate demand traveling between Toronto, Montreal, and Toronto, Ottawa. The Canadian Forces base in Trenton is also a major demand generator. And for local employers, mainly in Belleville and Trenton, they generate significant corporate demand locally in those 2 markets. And whenever there's a major contracts going on, whether that's CN Rail or Hydro One, they also make up a significant amount of the corporate demand share of the regional market demand. In terms of group, sports tourism has been identified as the #1 group segment. And there are also social events such as weddings, family gatherings that make up the rest of the group demand within the region. Moving on to next slide. For the competitive supply in the region, as we all know, there's currently no hotel in Brighton, and majority of the hotels here are actually located in the city of Belleville and mainly Highway 401 and the Front Street there. Overall, Belleville does have superior product quality. The hotel has superior product quality, and especially the two recently opened Country Inn Suites and Hampton, which HVS, our company, did a study for both projects. So we're quite familiar with the asset and with the local hotel demand generators. And comparing to hotels in Trenton, Trenton hotels are in need of major renovation, and their product are somewhat dated. So Belleville does have a competitive advantage over Trenton, not just because of location, but also because of product offering. Now, if you think about the demand generator, as we discussed in the previous slide, you have Highway 401 equally serving the three areas. So nobody has advantage or disadvantage when trying to capture those corporate demand. And the local corporate demand in Belleville are likely to continue using the lodging facilities locally in Belleville just because of the convenience in location. However, the corporate demand in Trenton and the contractors visiting Trenton may not mind driving another 5 to 15 minutes and coming to a hotel here in Brighton if our accessibility and visibility are adequate. And similarly, for the leisure demand, given the distance between Prince Edward County to Brighton versus Trenton are quite similar, we do think with a highway visibility, we could even possess a competitive advantage when competing with hotels in Trenton, because #1, we will be offering brand new product. #2, we could potentially be the first hotel that GTA demand are going to see when they drive west from GTA to visit Prince Edward County. Moving forward to the next slide, historical supply and demand trend. I know there's a lot of numbers on this slide, but I just want to highlight some of the interesting things going on historically in this market. From 2012 to 2019, there has been 2 new hotel openings. One TownePlace Suites opened in 2015, Belleville. #2 Country Inn Suites opened up in Belleville during 2019. And you can see sort of on the 4th column there, 2015, you can see a 15.7% increase in supply, followed by 2019, 7.7% increase. The reason I want to highlight those 2 years is because if you look at the occupancy of the 2 following years, you can see the market historically, regardless of the increase of supply, the market has historically hovered around 60% of occupancy, which suggests 2 things. #1, the market was potentially underserviced by the existing supply there. And #2, the new supply that entered the market was quickly absorbed by the depths of the market, which also suggests there could be room for new supply entering this region. Point number three, we've talked about. Point number 4, because we have an in-house database of individual hotel performance, we know Belleville hotels average between 65 to 70% of occupancy on an annualized basis at $140 rate. And Trenton hotels average between 40 to 45% at $110 rate. And by talking about average rate in our study, the average rate is average of 365 days and includes all the rate categories, whether that's Booking.com, whether you have family and friends rate booking at the hotel, where you have direct booking from brand.com. It includes all of those, and it calculates on a daily basis what the rate would be. So just for comparison purposes, from feasibility standpoint, any hotel developer would require their hotel to be at the Belleville level for them to initiate their investment, to get their we need to be as competitive to Trenton hotels. We need to have multiple competitive advantages over Trenton hotels for a hotel here in Brighton to be feasible. Therefore, we have looked at 3 locations to assess which one is more feasible versus the other ones, which will be discussed later in the slides. The next page is a demand seasonality. The only thing I want to highlight here, I wish you get colored copies, great. The only thing I want to highlight here is even though the market has been running 60% occupancy, which may not sound very high, if you look at some of the weekends, especially the Saturdays during the summer months, the market consistently runs above 90 and 98% of occupancy, which suggests a lot of hotel guests are being turned away because most hotels are running at or near its capacity at 100% of occupancy, which again, it means there's potential for new supply here. Moving on to next slide. HVS forecasted the market-wide occupancy for the region, and in short, we are anticipating a very sharp decline in occupancy for 2020 due to the current pandemic and due mainly because of the traveling restrictions. However, we're anticipating a quicker rebound than the urban centers in 2021 and 2022 because of the fact that Belleville, Trenton, or Brighton rely a lot more on domestic leisure demand compared to urban centers that rely a lot on international travelers and large group gatherings, which would be much slower for them to rebound. Overall, Overall, we're anticipating demand to recover in the year of 2022, with occupancy recovers in the year of 2026 because of new supply coming in, which we have factored in us and the newly opened Hampton Inn Suites in Belleville. Moving on to next slide. This is the scenario analysis that we did. So we looked at 3 potential locations for a hotel to be located in Brighton. Number 1 being close or within the city center, which will be supported by the amenities nearby, such as restaurants or retail stores. Number 2 being the highway location, which will be attractive to the GTA leisure demand. Again, we have the potential of being the first hotel that the visitors will see when they come in from Toronto, and we can pull corporate demand from Trenton. Number 3, we also looked at a waterfront location, which could possess unique features over the existing supply in the region, and it has the potential of becoming a destination over rather than a regular, prototypical 3-star hotel per se. Moving on to the next slide. So overall, HVS has done 3 sets of models. We analyzed 3 scenarios, and this is just some scenario summary that we have concluded. Overall, the city center is deemed to be the least favorable given the distance from the Highway 401, because that would make us a disadvantage when competing with hotels in Trenton, let alone Belleville. Highway 401 location is deemed to be the most favorable because of the accessibility, visibility, coupled with superior brand new facility would make us more favorable than hotels in Trenton. Because if the location is proper, we can easily pull some of the corporate demand for those who don't mind traveling another 5 to 10 minutes to enjoy a much better product in the municipality of Brighton. For the waterfront location, we concluded that it could support a higher average daily rate just because it would feature some rooms facing the water. But given the accessibility from the highway is deemed inferior, overall, we concluded waterfront location would stabilize at the occupancy at 66% at $147 or almost $148 average daily rate. But if you multiply those 2 together, which is an industry metric that we look at, it's called RevPAR, revenue per available room, which is something that every hotel developer would look at. We concluded Highway 401 scenario is the optimum among the 3 scenarios. And overall, moving on to next slide, overall, some final recommendations. The type of facility that we're recommending here is called, in our industry, a mid-scale or an upper mid-scale hotel. And here are some 5 examples of some of the hotel brands that you might be familiar with somewhat. In terms of room count, we're suggesting 60 rooms, and some of the facilities are very similar to those are being offered in the hotels in Belleville, with complimentary breakfast, swimming pool, fitness center, business center, and market pantry. And that concludes my presentation. I welcome the floor for any questions that you may have, or you have my contact information. You can contact me at any time.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. So I'll open the floor to members of council if you have any questions of clarification. Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, sir, very good presentation. Airbnbs,
Yeah.
the availability of rooms, and like we're growing here with Airbnbs, we don't have a bylaw yet or control them or to bring them into line. Would that affect the motel for availability of rooms and stuff? Have you looked at that in your study?
Yes, to answer your question, sir, we have looked at that, but Airbnb, there are multiple implications of Airbnb. Number one, the reliability of the data, because the Airbnb they have inventory, they have unstable inventory. They only put their rooms when the demand is highest. So in areas like Prince Edward County, we see Airbnb as a complement to hotels in the region, because when you see in the summer leisure seasons, when the hotel runs 98% of occupancy, that is when the Airbnbs are often being posted available on the website. Given that we're already running near capacity, the offering of Airbnbs simply attracts more visitors to the region. We don't really see them as competitors. In some areas we do, where they attract a lot of the corporate guests, but in the region we're not seeing Airbnb as a threat, to answer your question.
Other questions? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. But right off the bat, when you say you're recommending the 401, when I argued against even doing this study, the visitors that come to Brighton go to Presqu'île. There's 260,000 usually each year. And as I listened to the presentation this summer, the AGM, they're expecting, this year they had 100% more people, and they're expecting that will continue now that it's out on social media. But those people come with their own RVs or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're not going to use a hotel. Secondly, to try to market to get a hotel in Brighton, how are we going to supply them with water? It would be an enormous price to run water from our main take at Spring Valley all the way out to there. And the other thing, we don't have any land, so that's a big cost. So, and also you said that we would draw from the access from Trenton, probably not Belleville. I can't see them coming all the way to Brighton for that, but we have no transit. So if they want to enjoy a few drinks or whatever, they're not going to get in a car and drive all the way to Brighton. When you said that it increased when the population in the hotels, I think most of us around here know why that increased. It was because the casino went in. And we know that certain people that gamble a lot get free hotel rooms. So obviously the population would go up. So overall, I can say that my great uncle had a hotel at Presqu'île when you talked about waterfront, but that was when people traveled by boat to get here from the States and whatever. People, they'd have boats now, even have their own accommodation on them, anybody that's got any amount of money. So they wouldn't be using it, and I can understand why that was knocked out. And I also can understand why the retail wasn't. But I can't see the benefit right now of even trying to promote a hotel at the 401.
If I may try to answer some of the questions. Oh, do I have a chance to
Yes, please do.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure of the procedure. I apologize. I'm trying to wrap my head around your comments, which I agree to most of your comments. Yes, we have spoken with local hotel management and owners. Presqu'île Provincial Park is, we listed it there because it's in the city, in the municipality of Brighton, but it does not serve significant amount of leisure demand for the region. Definitely, Prince Edward County is the number one, like I said. In terms of the casino, yes, we have a consultant on that project as well. Yes, casino was expected to generate a stable hotel room night per night. That's how the contract is usually done. But I can tell you, without revealing the number, I can tell you it is an insignificant amount demand addition to the market, because the size of the casino, it generally serves the regional demand where the visitors may not need overnight stays. Yes, they would come the rooms for the high rollers, for the players, but on a 365-day basis, it is an insignificant amount for the region. I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
I just comment, it's not what we heard when the Williams Company wanted to build there, because they knew the casino was coming.
Yeah, no comment on that.
Councillor Henderson.
I won't get into it, but I know a lot of what was discussed when that hotel was built with the Williams, but I can just say I worked in Trenton. I ran the Trenton Ramada for a number of years, Belleville Waterfront, Ramada on the Bay, the Holiday Inn Express on North Front Street. I was there when the casino opened. I've seen it. Belleville is strong corporately. 4 nights a week are what drives Belleville. Weekends is bonus. Weddings, and you're gonna probably, you can answer if I'm saying anything wrong. But weekends is about sports, reunions, church groups, special events like that. It's about, it's all up to how you run your facility too. Just because you have a name on it doesn't mean build it and they will come. I think there's a bit of that. But you need to market, and if it's a franchise, usually they're a franchise, lots of marketing support, lots of, and there's tourism support. We have economic development, we have tourism committees, and all these things drive the people. You're talking 60 rooms here. It's a start for this community. And we're not talking today. We're talking 2 years, 3 years out. And yes, we don't have the land, and I agree there. Yes, the 401 might be my first choice, but it's a close second choice where my other choice is. And I think the sports people should be hungry for it. I think the community should be hungry for it. Your families can come visit. These are we call it a seniors community. Your family can come and visit and stay 2 nights, 3 nights, whatever. Corporate stays longer now too. Well, not all of them, but there's long-term stay, and I'm glad to see some long-term stay being developed in Brighton down on the waterfront. There's people that come here, and you talked about, you move here, and somebody moves here and they want a place to stay for a month while they're waiting to move in. Where are they going to go? Coburg, Trenton, driving all over the place. What these hotels do, we aren't going to own it. We're not going to open it. We're just going to encourage a developer and a franchise company to say, hey, this is the next place to go. You know, Coburg's going to get another hotel. Trenton has a plan for another hotel. Belleville has a plan for another hotel. And if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about this. 8 Wing has 900
Do I have to mind?
guests from
carry on.
What's that?
Carry on.
I'm going to tell you, because it's very important that these economic things should be put out there and people can hear, at least if you don't agree with what I'm saying, you tell me. But, you know, 8 Wing has 900
could possibly
rooms,
get a word in.
900 rooms on the base. So you got to push for these things if you want to see some things happen. And we don't want necessarily a whole bunch more residents. People keep saying, let's keep it small town, keep the flavor. Well, the flavor can be there, but nice to have some new services, maybe another place to eat, you know, things like that. So this is what drives it all. And it's economic development is where I'm coming from. And the tax base from a hotel is substantial. Am I correct there too?
true.
So, and then there's also other benefits from destination funds that come your way to the community. So I just wanted to say my piece that we got an opportunity here with an expert, and then you can make up your mind whether we want to go for. And perhaps it's time now to look at the water situation to the 401, not for a hotel necessarily, but maybe it's time we bring dust off the binder on that one, because I know it was discussed a number of years ago. So,
It's old.
huh?
It's an old binder.
I know,
yes.
but maybe it's time to be thinking that's for down the road, but we need to be moving on some of these.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. I don't think there was a question in there. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, the
I
question
don't
was
have any
whether
comments. Thank you so much.
are those things got some validity to it?
Councillor Anderson would like to be validated. Mr. Shi, would you please do that?
Well-
I validate. Yes, I agree with what you just said.
You did a good job. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you both. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks. I just wanted to thank you for this information. It pulls it together in a way that makes sense and helps us. You know, I'm inclined to have a hotel in town for some reason, but I see the information you have here, and I see why you're saying that. I don't really have a question. I'm just saying thank you for pulling this information. This is really what we needed to be able to figure out how or if how we'll move forward and. Yeah, the details of it, whether or not there's water there, that's for us to figure out. And certainly it's not our hotel. It's about attracting, someone. So I guess my question, I do have a bit of a question for you. These sorts of reports, if a developer, a hotel franchise is looking to come to a town, city, whatever, will they come without a report like this, or are they looking for this information to be ready for them to look at? Like, how does that work? Is that something they're looking for?
Yeah, it's obviously case by case, but having a report in your possession is definitely an advantage for them, because how the hotel industry, especially for branded hotel industry to operate, for them to develop a hotel, they usually come to us or one of my competitors to get a study like this done. They pay the money, they select the site, and they make up their mind based on our conclusions, and they submit our report to the brands to secure a brand and to lenders to secure financing. So our report is in the chain of reactions anyway. So for you to have this report up front is definitely an advantage.
Thank you very much. Is not having water and sewer at the 401 something that would kill a deal? Or is it possible for a hotel to be established on well and septic?
It's more of a question to the brands. So some of the major brands internationally recognize the brands that I have listed there. To my knowledge, the majority of them, I can't give you a number, the majority of them would require city sewer and water services.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? And just a reminder, absolutely, we don't have the land. Someone did say that, but it's not really up to the municipality to have the land. This is about attracting potential investment, really no different than anything else that we do in economic development in terms of attracting new investment. So last question, anybody? So I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rowley. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council receive the presentation from HVS Consulting regarding the accommodation study. Any further discussion? All those in, go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
Just to be clear, this is to receive it. We're not taking any action on this.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Shi. We appreciate your time. Our next delegation is from Roman Kiprenko regarding non-farm property tax deferral. Mr. Kiprenko, come on up.
Well, I'll be short. Well, the non-farm property tax deferral, there is a bylaw, a county bylaw, 0708, but it's virtually unknown. And I got started research last year. So this is nothing to do with the COVID-19. It's basically not finding too much information, and I found that Ontario, province of Ontario, does have the law for the farm properties. And so I contacted, sent the email to all council members early this year. I got 2 answers, one from the mayor, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
And one from one of the councillors, thank you, Doug. The rest councillors, I guess, either didn't know anything about it or just ignore my email. Now, the reason I decided to speak at the council meeting, basically, I believe there might be other property owners who might be interested in that deferral of property tax. That's why making it more public than talking individually, I thought that might be an idea. And so following those 2 advices I got, one was that I talked to a person dealing with in the county with the finances, which was Glenn Dees. And the other one, talking to Linda Widefeld here in the municipality. Talking to both of them basically confirmed that nobody really knows about it. They both agreed with me that the bylaw, which is the county bylaw, has some errors or typos. And there was another issue. Well, obviously there's how it works is that even though it's a county bylaw, the application is made to the municipality. So the municipality first deals with it approving or disapproving the application. As far as I know, talking to both Glenn and Linda, well, there's nobody has applied. So that's why what I am saying is a virtually unknown issue, but I think that some people might be really interested in that. That's why I'm bringing it here. So sort of concluding is that I believe if somebody applies, then obviously those issues which are not very clear in the bylaw itself and missing information should be dealt with upfront instead of suddenly somebody applies for the deferral of property taxes and then if nobody, even people dealing with the finances on the county and municipality level, they don't know much about it, so there might be a problem. That's why I'm bringing it here. One main problem what I can see is the bylaw doesn't specify anything about what would be the interest rate for the portion of the property taxes being deferred. Talking to Linda, he at one point told me that, well, it'd probably be 15% annual, which, was sort of stunned by that information because through my research, for example, and Ontario Minister of Revenues and Revenue Canada, right now, the rate that they are applying, interest rate for not paid taxes, etc., is 5%. You can get the credit line 5%. And somehow, something which is not in the bylaw itself, and the answer would be 15%. Well, I don't know how much loan sharks are charging, but obviously, I think that in this situation, and the bylaw, which is supposed to help low-income seniors and disabled people, charging 15% might be a bit steep. So basically, that's what I wanted to raise, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Kaprenko. I'll open the floor to members of council if we have any questions of clarification for you. Members? Councillor LeBlanc?
I have one, but it's not for the gentleman here. It would probably, Linda Winterfield is here, but the CAO, for Bob, for CAO. Do you think that a report can be brought up in front of council? I know it's not a question, but I don't know how to go through this, to bring a report about this to council under the bylaw of 2008.
So what we could do is refer it to staff
That's what I would like to do.
and ask for a report to provide council with some education on this matter, if
Yes,
you'd like.
please.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Roman. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll read the motion. It's moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive the delegation from Roman Kaprenko regarding non-farm property tax deferral. And are you okay if we refer it to staff for a report? So I've added and refer the matter to staff for a report. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you again, Roman. Are there any citizens' comments? Mr. Hagerman, do you see any in that box? No, thank you. There are no citizens' comments this evening. We have removed 9.1 from the agenda, so we are into staff reports. We move into 9.2. Staff report with regard to winter outdoor ice skating rink. Mr. Miller, we have read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council, never mind. I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receives the staff report as information regarding the topic of a municipal outdoor skating rink during the winter months. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. I was, so we're receiving this, but could I please ask the director if there will be at least some attempt to build one this year, if weather permits?
Mr. Miller?
That is our goal. Should weather permit, we'll make an attempt to put one out in the Ball Diamond.
Out here.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
With that intent, is there any intent of locations or location that you, Mr. Miller?
Mr. Miller just said the intent would be the Ball Diamonds in
Oh,
King Edward
I
Park.
missed that. I'm sorry. Is that the,
That is the only location that is in the report.
okay. Not the time to discuss any consideration.
Now would be the time to discuss anything, but let me,
Okay.
you go ahead.
Oh, just, I don't know, perhaps in the Cotterington area. I was looking at the cost, and I think Councilor Bateman made a good point. Somewhere I noticed about volunteerism and people to assist with something like that during the winter, which other communities do. I'll let him speak about that if he wishes. Is it a possibility of perhaps one in Cotterington, which is a good flat area, some lighting and some place to take off your boots, and possibly something in the urban area, which would be right here. I know it's the first year. It hasn't been done for a few years or 5 years, whatever I heard. But things are different this year. It doesn't seem like a lot of money other than the operational part of it. which we don't know. But if there's solutions, perhaps we can go bold and go in Codrington and down and here. What do you think of that, Mr. Miller?
Mr. Miller?
Well, regarding Codrington, you don't have lights and there's no water source. And it's close by. We're here, you've at least got the water source. You have lights that you can put on the ball diamond. And you have a warming area, which would be the arena, which you wouldn't have at Cod.
And there's no way addressing a light, or even though if there was no lights, it could be used during the day. And the one down here would be your evening choice. Just a thought. I think it'd be nice to share with the entire community an opportunity like this, but it's just an idea in my opinion.
I like your thinking. Let's keep this conversation going. Councillor Bateman?
I like the idea of an outdoor rink. I think we need more stuff, not just for the kids, but for the adults that like to skate as well. I think both locations, it will take a great deal of volunteerism because both Ottawa and Castleton are run almost 100% by volunteers. And I'm sure that I could round up several volunteers from Brighton Minor Hockey that would want to be part of that group to take care of the ice. In terms of Codrington, I think it would work out there as well because we do have the North Fire Hall, and I'm sure the fire department would love to flood that at night when it would freeze because they have to test their equipment all the time anyway, so test it while flooding the ice.
Anyone else? Councillor Tadman?
I do agree with Councillor Anderson that it would be a real plus to offer something to the northern end of the municipality also. And I brought up before when we were talking about this, something at Presqu'île or Brighton Bay, as I call it Brighton Bay, some people call it Presqu'île, whatever. And I know that before there's been always the talk of liability, but when I see the parks, especially right now, not being used, I think if whatever way we can encourage kids to get out and away from their devices, because now they're not allowed to do anything at recess or lunchtime at school. So just offering them and their parents a place to go outdoors. I skated all day and didn't need a place to get warm. And I think the kids are tough enough that they could do that too. And I like Councillor Bateman's idea of utilizing volunteers because there'd be some parents that would be glad to help. I know just on Harbor Street, there was one in, I won't name the names, that's not fair, in their backyard. Other people have done. We had one when our kids were young. So I think it's a good idea all the way around, and especially this year with COVID, that kids need some place to get rid of all that pent up energy.
Thank you. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor?
I think it's a great idea. If we could pull off 2 rinks, I think that would be a great idea as well. I am cognizant of the idea. I know we can use volunteers, but there's always staff time involved in having volunteers because things have to be done a certain way. So I just want to make sure that we're able to do that. We have the budget to do that. $1,500 doesn't sound like a lot. Is that going to double for the 2? I would like to see, have more conversation about this and talk about a way that we can make it happen. I think it would be a really great year to be able to do the 2. I just, it's been a tough year for everyone. I think this would be something that was really something positive that we can do. So if we can figure out how to make this happen, I would love to see it happen.
Mr. Miller, do you see any serious issues if council were to endorse 2 outdoor rinks, one in King Edward Park and one in Codrington?
Well, it definitely needs to be done through volunteers as well, because you don't have the staff complement to do that on top of this building.
Operationally, we would let staff operate that in terms of, reaching out to get volunteers and so on. So we would certainly endorse that as long as staff were comfortable doing that. We also don't want to, we're mindful of any labor issues as well, right? Without
That's
stepping
the
on
other
any
thing. That's
toes.
the
We don't
other
want to do
thing,
that.
being
So
unionized, I don't know.
so we want to make sure that if we do engage volunteers, that the staff are comfortable with the labor union is comfortable with that as we go down that road. So the motion is moved by Councillor Tadman, it's seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receives the staff report as information regarding the topic of a municipal outdoor skating rink during the winter months. And Councillor Tadman and Councillor Bateman Should I add and endorse the creation at 2 locations, King Edward Park and Codrington?
Yes, I would support that. Maybe the director will have to come back and give us some reasons why we can't maybe operate both, but for now, I'd like to see both of them as move forward. And I think that Councillor Bateman has experience with others that have do it in other towns, so we could always ask for their expertise too.
You okay with that, Councillor Bateman?
Yeah. Can I add one final sales pitch to this?
You may.
I'm in favor of it and always have been. We've talked, and I know it takes a lot of manpower, but we were just talking and listening to the hotel accommodation study. And I'm in no way, shape, or form suggesting an outdoor rink will drive occupancy to a hotel, but we're talking about drawing people to town. And I encourage anybody that has never been to Ottawa to go down there on any given weekend. And the special weekend was when they have the big tournament in support of the base. It's just hundreds and hundreds of people. And if we're trying to come up with ideas, inexpensive ideas, I know money is tight, but inexpensive ideas to draw people into this town, they have to eat somewhere. They have to get gas somewhere. They get groceries. So this is an inexpensive way to draw traffic. Even the Castleton rinks, I encourage anybody in the middle of winter to go visit both locations.
Councillor Anderson, did I see your hand?
I love the enthusiasm. I think, yeah, it's, I'm glad to hear fellow councilors supporting this and us moving, and hopefully we can move ahead on it quickly. So, sorry, go ahead.
Deputy Mayor?
Shall we add to the motion that we all will volunteer to put on our boots, because I don't skate, boots and mitts and go down and help at one point, you know, get our name on the list?
Well, we were, sorry.
Doug, you're so fast to put your hand up for that. What I've added to the motion is and endorse the construction of rinks at 2 locations, King Edward Park and Codrington. And if members of council wish to volunteer, they can certainly advise Mr. Miller of that, and I'm sure he'll get you on a list. Councillor Tadman.
I don't want to volunteer necessarily to do something with the rink, but I'd love to volunteer to help Mrs. Vink learn how to skate, because anybody lives in Canada should be able to skate.
Councillor
I
Anderson.
skated as a child, but you know, I'm just not as coordinated anymore, and I'm old and I don't want to hurt myself and have hip surgery and be off for 3 months like you were.
There you go.
You're old? Thank you for finally admitting it.
Go ahead, Ron.
Was that Councillor Anderson?
It was not. Carry on.
Anyhow, maybe the Codrington Center could take ownership, so to speak, of the Codrington rink, and with volunteers from that area, and a different and Mark group from this end, and so there's less. It's a little bit more easily managed when you can split the responsibilities a little bit.
So again, just to make sure we're working in lockstep with our unions and our
Yeah,
labor
yeah.
people, we'll let Mr. Miller manage the operations of this. Go ahead.
I'm just going to make one comment, and staff can do with this what they like. We have a committee that plans Apple Fest so that staff don't have to take on the huge responsibility that we have a committee. I'm just wondering, because a lot of our committees have hardly met this year. We haven't been able to do much. Is it better to have a committee help do this than to just ask staff to do it? That's my question. I'm just throwing it out there. Absolutely. No. We still, just like Apple Fest needs committee members, community events need staff members. I'm offering it as, would it be more helpful to have a committee working with staff?
Engage in debate with members of council.
With staff to do this. I'm not saying it has to be that way. I'm asking that question because we want to help make it happen.
So which member of staff would like to answer that question? Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Along comes with committees of council comes a staff member, which we pay. Committees of council, we pay. So no matter what, you're going to be paying these members to do it. They're not going to be volunteers. So if it's a committee of council. If it's volunteers and it's just somebody like a group that gets together to do it, that's different. Like in Crammy Township, it's on private property, not municipal property, and they are a group of their own that do those 2 rinks.
Supplementary. Supplement.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying. If we had someone who do that, that would be wonderful, but currently we don't. And I know, like, for example, on Apple Fest, although we pay these volunteers, they put a whole lot more time to it than just coming to the meeting. And I'm just throwing it out there as if this would help us get it done and make it easier, then this is maybe something we consider. That's all. I don't want to make it more difficult either.
Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. What a brilliant idea, Deputy Mayor, because the Community Events Committee hasn't really been able to do much of anything this year, have they? And they've, you know, they applied to be active in the community, so I would think that we could use that group especially.
I don't want to get into a debate about whether the Community Events Committee has been active or not. Councillor Rowley, I think you're coming to the defense of community events.
I am going to come to the defense of community events. No, we haven't been as active as normally we could
I'm not
be.
accusing you of anything.
No, I'm not saying that you are. However, the demographics of our community events committee would not really allow for a lot of volunteer time, is all I'm saying. I mean, if you know the age range that we're dealing with, talk about a liability.
Thank you,
And
Councillor Rowley.
I'm not insulting
just-
my community
I
event
understand.
members,
We're
Mr.
just gonna let that hang out there
Right,
and move on.
right.
Councillor Bateman.
I'm not touching that one. She volunteered.
Be
to go
bold.
skating. Question for you, Mayor. I have a meeting tomorrow for the Codrington Community Association. Is there something that I can bring up to them if they're even interested in participating in that? or leave it?
Certainly don't think it would hurt to let them know that council has endorsed a rink at the Codrington location and that staff may be seeking volunteers. Is that a fair comment, Mr. Miller?
We certainly would be. And any help.
So
with
yes, the answer is
materials.
yes, please do. Any further comment or question? I have not amended the motion further. The addition is and endorse the construction of rinks at 2 locations, King Edward Park and Codrington. Anything further? Councillor Anderson?
I think Brighton's going to become a winter wonderland. In fact, you're going to hear more about that from Olive Quinty. There's something going on about turning Quinty into a wonderland.
Can't wait to hear it.
Oh,
Councillor Rowley?
Just one question, and this might be more for budget time for Mr. Miller, but I'm wondering if going forward, I know we're kind of shooting from the hip this year with this, but I'm wondering if something like this should be added to future budgets as far as maybe having a rink committee of some sorts that we need to add a few more dollars in with your budget for that for 21 and maybe going forward.
And another deputy clerk, I think, would be appropriate if we're going to keep adding committees. I'm only being slightly sarcastic. I mean, we've
Well,
got
that's
we've
good,
got-
but I'm thinking, if we want to keep doing this, if this is this year, and like I said, I know we're kind of just flying by the seat of our pants with this one this year to see it going, but maybe it should be something that Mr. Miller's department consider in years going forward
So I
to
would-
put some monies away.
Yeah, I would suggest that we would wait to hear back from Parks and Rec about how best to manage this in years ahead.
Exactly.
Once we get this done, yeah.
That's right. And I'm sure there'd be dollars involved in that, so it might be good to think of that now.
Anything further? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Our next report is with regard to the usage of arms and municipal swag. Mr. Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. So the motion is moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Anderson. The council received the staff report regarding the usage of the coat of arms, municipal swag, and further, and I need to know which one you guys want to go with, that the municipality of Brighton coat of arms and logo corporate usage policy remain unchanged, or that that council amend the policy to allow the use of coat of arms on municipal flags. And if I may recommend going with the second one, so that we can sell these things, that would be my preference. Are you okay with that?
Did we ever determine where the funds would go from the sale of them?
No. We're stuck in policy land here.
I'm good with that, as long as
Okay.
at some point we know.
Yeah. Councillor Anderson, you okay with that? And then I'll open the floor for debate. So it's that council amend the policy to allow the use of coat of arms on the municipal flags. Deputy Mayor.
So you were talking about the funds. I would like, if we're going to do this, it's cost recovery. I don't think the idea is to make money on this, is it? It's just being able to sell and promote Brighton with this.
That would
this sort of-
certainly be my hope, yes.
Okay.
Councillor Tadman.
This came up before, I'm sure you probably were on council a long time ago. And when we looked into it further, I don't think we're allowed to do that.
What's our policy?
It is, but it's almost like it's something sacred that we're not supposed to touch, except, you know, you as the mayor get it on your letterhead and things like that. So I certainly won't support this just because of the history that I had from before. It was during Boudelier's time, and she brought a whole bunch of information forward, and I think you probably remember that.
So it was suggested to me that if we went with the unchanged portion, that we could still order flags and I could make them available to people that I thought were worthy in the community. But that really wasn't the point of me bringing the idea of amending the policy to council. My wish was to make them available to anyone who wanted to fly a Brighton flag, and they would pay whatever the cost was to the community to pay for that. We're not looking to make money here. I do understand the implications that, you know, someone could take that flag and you know, make a mess of it, but they can do that with the Canadian flag or the flag of Ontario. We have to trust that people will be respectful of the icons of our nation, our province, and our community. And by and large, I think most people are. Will some people deface it? Sure, it's going to happen. That's the way it goes. Councillor LeBlanc.
I like the idea of the coat of arms, but I have one question because she raised the point that it wasn't allowed by the last council. So I'll ask the question to the clerk. Is it allowed for us to use the coat of arms for doing this?
Well, our policy states no. And through other legislations and that I'm not in favor for you to use your coat of arms, but that's council's decision.
We're talking about putting a coat of arms on a flag and selling the flags to people in the community. We're not talking about spray painting the coat of arms everywhere or opening them up to the public to be able to use. We're talking about being able to sell the flag so that people can fly them on their boats or off their porches and show a little civic pride.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
could that not be worded so it's specific to the flag?
it is worded that way.
All right, so
Councillor Tadman.
Mayor, your one point that to show that we're proud of our community, I don't know of anybody that would be extra proud to have the coat of arms on a flag. So I don't think that stands as a good argument.
I can tell you that the reason I brought this is because people were asking me, how can we buy a flag in the municipality? And so I asked Mr. Miller, how much do these flags cost? And he informed me that they're like $1 billion for the official two that get purchased every year. But of course, if we order smaller versions, the 3x5 versions that most people put up, and order them in bulk, you can get them down to the $50 range, $60 range, something like that. So that's why I brought this to council to consider. Go ahead.
And the other thing is that it has to be very specific. So that would raise the price to put something like the coat of arms on a flag. So I just can't support it.
So we're not talking about the full coat of arms. We're talking about replicating the existing flag and making flags for people to fly on their porch. This is, anyway, go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Right. So as per the clerk's comment, presently it is not in our policy.
Correct.
However, if we approve this, we could amend the policy so it is then allowed, right?
If we vote in favor of this motion, we would be amending the policy to permit it.
Right. So then we would be in compliance with our own policy.
Correct.
Right. Thank you.
Because it is council's policy. Councillor Bateman.
Just a couple questions. So are we just talking flags, or are we talking the other souvenirs that it mentions?
I think right now we're talking flags.
Flags. And do we know of any other municipalities or cities that currently do that sort of thing?
I know you can buy a City of Toronto flag, but I don't know anywhere else off the top of my head.
And can I ask a third one?
Sure.
Sure. So what restricts anybody once we do it on souvenirs, like replicating it yourself and doing it, taking the...
I can tell you nothing's stopping anyone from doing it now.
No, I was going to say, it's not copyrighted, so I could take that image, put it in my computer, print it off on the transfer, and iron it on and have one tomorrow.
You could do that tomorrow. Not legally, but you could do it tomorrow. Yeah.
It's copyrighted? Okay, that's what I didn't know if it was
I don't
copyrighted or
want
not.
to do it.
Deputy Mayor.
Just for clarity, though, even if we pass this, we're not making it legal for someone to do that, are we?
No, we're not.
No, we're just making it legal for us to be able, right?
That's
Okay.
correct. We are making it legal for us to replicate our existing flag and sell those flags to the good people of Brighton or Belleville. If the good people of Belleville want to buy a flag, that'd be up to them, I guess. I can't imagine that would happen, but Councillor Tadman.
Mayor, can we call the vote
I
on this?
really
think
wish we would,
spent a
yes.
long time on it.
Is there anything further? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. Sure. I've signed this already because I was already going down that road, but you can record the vote. That one has been asked for after the vote was taken.
Councillor Mary Tadman. Deputy Mayor Laura Vink.
Yes.
Councillor Ron Anderson.
Yes.
Councillor Mark Bateman.
Yes.
Councillor Doug LeBlanc.
Yes.
Councillor Emily Raleigh.
Yes.
And Mayor Brian Ostrander.
Yes,
It's carried.
thank you. So move on to our next report with regard to the Water Pollution Control Plant Status Report, January to September. Thank you. September 2020. The report is written by Mr. Lee, who is not present. Mr. Parkinson, we've read Mr. Lee's report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time, Your Worship.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council receives the Water Pollution Control Plant Status Report as information. Is there any discussion? And I'll just, before I go to you, Councillor LeBlanc, I will remind everyone, we will be meeting in camera to discuss other issues around the water pollution control plant. So govern your questions accordingly so that we're not weighing ourselves into potentially closed session issues. Go ahead. Your microphone.
So when I review this report, I look at the your total flow per cubic meters. When I look at the month of January, March, April, and May, they're out of sequence with the rest of the months. To me, as a wastewater treatment guy and a collection system guy, it shows we have serious infiltration. Would you agree with that?
Through your worship, absolutely.
So I also look at the report where we say we're allowed 4,600 cubic meters per day, but that's on a daily, not on a monthly, that's on a yearly average. Because I read our ECA, not on a daily average, a yearly average. But I also know that sometimes you said that we were exceedance, the month of March, you have an asterisk that we were exceedance for the month, but we weren't exceedance for the year. That's correct? Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Graham, we'll need you to speak into the microphone just because the meetings are recorded and they are.
I think what Doug's saying is that if you're over for 1 month, like for March, are you in a violation? You're not, because you get to count all the flow for 365 days a year and divide it by 365.
Yes.
It's just pointing out, I think that was a fairly high month. One thing you should keep in mind, yeah, you've got a high infiltration problem, perhaps. My gut feeling is it's not that bad for small town Ontario, but you've got this special challenge here of being right by Lake Ontario. And as soon as Lake Ontario gets really, really high, like it has for a number of springs now, it's forcing your groundwater throughout all of the lower part of your municipality also up and really, really pressurizing all the sewers with groundwater. And there are probably even basements that are right around the level of Lake Ontario. And now those foundation drains are going to go somewhere 24/7.
Again,
One more.
nobody else.
Councillor Tadman?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one question, either Jeff or Preston. I have been, well, there's been arguments about it in past councils, and then it has come up different times when people have asked me about the wastewater plant. We have been told over and over again, we have the capacity to keep going in the direction we're going with development. Is that true? So that I can say to people once again, we're not at full capacity or almost there.
Mr.
Through you-
Parkinson?
Through your worship, yes, there is remaining capacity in the system.
Do you have any length of time and numbers right now? That I know that's too hard to do, but we're not in any danger of exceeding our capacity at this time. Is that correct?
That's correct. We do have the numbers on them, but I don't have them with me.
No,
tonight.
and we've had them before. Okay, thanks.
Three or 4 years ago, the number was floating around was 20 years. So we've got at least 15 years, give or take, I would think, of capacity left, depending on what's coming online in terms of development, right? Mr. Graham?
Cal might be a bit more.
Well, not that much. Mr. Graham?
Yeah, Mary, just as a comment, like Keith has put a lot of effort in since I've been involved for the last 5 years, every year trying to go out and fix up another variety of sewers to get the infiltration reduced, not out, but reduced. So if you look at your sewage flows over the last 10 years, they're basically unchanged. In other words, you've been taking infiltration out of the system as fast as you've been adding new real sewage from new homes. So I think that's quite an accomplishment. Keep in mind that a new house these days probably produces a lot less new sewage or real sewage than homes did 20 years ago. The average new house, if you look at your water demand through your water meters, is probably half a cubic meter a day. In other words, go ahead, add 1,000 homes, you'll probably only have 500 cubic meters per day more of real sewage. And you could probably accommodate that. Your wild card here is Lake Ontario. And when Lake Ontario gets high, you can't keep it out.
Thank you. Councillor Bateman?
Hopefully this ties into this. This is the wastewater pollution control. We're talking about the lift station, but I don't see anywhere in here, and we haven't talked about it recently. Where's the lift station tie in? Because, if we exceed the ammonia level, and I know we have a history of receiving some fines, but if the lift station fails, that's far more costly than a fine. We're going to have basements full of sewage. I don't know where we stand with that, because I think that would be a priority.
Not really the topic of the day, but do you want to talk about the design and engineering for the lift station, et cetera?
Sure, your worship. There's been some progress made on the pump station design. I can send an updated email to all the councillors so that you have all the information and detailed on how we're progressing with that. And it is included in the 2021 budget proposal for replacement next year.
Councillor Anderson?
If I can ask a question about if water was run to the 401 and there was some buildings up there that use sewage and some industrial properties or something like that. Let's say that we did that and that happened in 5 years from now. Where would we stand on our sewage capacity, water capacity? So should we not even think about moving water up there, or is because of that, or because it's not just the cost of getting it up there, it's the cost of getting it out of here.
Any comment, Mr. Parkinson?
Through your worship, that's a question with a lot of information missing. So I think it would involve, some detailed studies, cost, benefit analysis, that sort of thing. I don't have a quick answer on that one. I'd love to see it up there because I want to see Brighton grow and I want to see it grow properly. But yeah, I don't have an answer for that question tonight.
I'm going to suggest that we get some answers on that.
Perhaps when we sit down to review our strategic plan, we could add
Excellent,
something like that to it at some point. Councillor LeBlanc, back to you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the last meeting we had, I asked for the data on the SVI, the Imhoff cone test. That you doing? I don't see it here. I don't see a sludge volume index. I do not see a sludge age calculation on this documentation that should go with this, because we're going to talk into this later on tonight, but it's not here. Is this actually the report that was produced by the plant manager that hasn't been modified?
It's been edited, but it hasn't been modified in a great deal, and a lot of information wasn't removed, if that's what you're indicating. There were some past spreadsheets that were removed because it goes back too far and it wasn't relevant to the request that council had. But no, as far as that data speaks, it wasn't removed from this report.
Is it possible that you can provide Councillor LeBlanc with the data he's looking for? Please?
Absolutely. If the counselor would like to just email us, then we can email the entire group with all the results and the answers for the questions that he asked, if that's okay by everybody else.
Through your chair, because for me to look at this data, I have to have the daily data. I don't need a yearly average because I asked for specific time. I have two more questions and I'm done.
Very well.
The one on the infiltration. Past councils, I asked for the camera study that had been done with the 2 years. And you said you would send me an email with data on the amount of lines that were done within the last 2 years. You sent an email, but it wasn't there. So my point is, what are we doing when we know we got these months of infiltration? What are we doing to look to what source or what area it's coming from so we can reduce it? Have we done any studies? Have we lifted the manhole covers when these rains are going so we can find it? That's question number one.
Well, can we get an answer to question number one?
They've done, I did email back and all of council was included on that, how many kilometers that were done in the past 2 or 3 years. And we're doing the same thing this year. We're going to do some more camera work. And from that, we identify areas that we can repair within those most recent camera works. So there's money in that budget that we spend on camera and flushing. And then there's money in that same budget that we spend on repairs or patchwork to try to slow down the infiltration or to fix or improve failed areas for flow or blockages, that sort of thing.
The second, and there's going to be a follow-up.
You told me you only had two.
No, the ammonia levels that we have for June, July, and August. Mr. Grant, do you know what the groundwater ammonia levels are in Brighton, in the area where you are? Do you know what the natural ammonia, what's there? Do you know that they're identical same as those numbers right there?
I've heard rumors of that in the past.
And the thing is, you said that it infiltrates into the lagoon at certain periods at a time.
Yeah.
In your report, it also says that the lagoon has a 45-day capacity, but you didn't put in the BOD loading per surface acre, which tells you what your lagoon can do, right?
Yeah.
It's not here in this report.
No, you can produce a little summary report, or you can probably produce a much bigger report. And I think this is really Keith's creation. And, if you want a bigger, more involved report that can be provided, pointing out these reports have been produced from time to time, really driven by the ammonia issue more than, we've never had, for instance, a BOD problem. So.
We never had it, I know that.
Yeah, we've always had really low BODs. It hasn't been an issue. And I would, a lot of the BOD demand is being satisfied by the aeration in the aeration cell, as opposed to, loading rates on the lagoon. So while it is a facultative lagoon, and you would say the BOD loading rate should not exceed the atmospheric input of oxygen on a per acre basis, which is probably where you're going. We've never seen any, I haven't done the math, but there doesn't seem to be evidence of a problem with BOD removal. BOD, we only have to hit 40 for BOD, and we're typically below 5.
So gentlemen, we're getting into the weeds of the technical level here that I'm sure, I'd be happy to get you guys a room and you do whatever you need to do,
I
but
would like to ask for personal point of privilege, which I have never asked for before,
what's that?
to ask this man these questions.
Well, that's not a point of privilege, Doug. I mean,
Well, personal point of privilege.
so you can ask one more question, but we don't need to get into the weeds of the technicality of it. You could email Mr. Graham, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to give you the lowdown and the basics. But go ahead and ask your last question.
In your report, through your chair, to to Mr. Graham or to Preston. You said on your oxygen levels that you control it by 100 horsepower. You've added more horsepower to the aeration chamber. How is adding more horsepower giving you more dissolved oxygen? If you don't have the right equipment coming in, I don't want to go into the great detail how it is, but how is more horsepower giving you more dissolved oxygen? Because your first two aeration system, your two main ones, are only surface. They're not have any depth at all.
Actually, I think we're aerating from top to bottom.
Now you
I think if you take a DO probe and measure from surface to bottom, you'll find it very uniform, the dissolved oxygen level.
Now you are.
I think even before we've always had. So if we've been shy on oxygen, it's been shy from surface to bottom. I've never seen any vertical change in levels that Keith has reported to me.
Look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
I appreciate your questions, Councilor LeBlanc. I do want to make sure that our reports remain somewhat simple because I don't know a lot about sewage. And so for me to understand it, I do need it to be a simple report that we receive, but it doesn't mean I don't want you asking those questions. So I just wanted to clarify that. Don't make it too technical because you're going to lose. We can talk about taxes all you like, but poop,
You can have that.
it's a different situation.
What's your name? Councillor Tadman, sorry.
We still got the same name.
I know.
Thank you once again, Mayor, and I do appreciate whoever did this, if it wasn't Tiny, or, sorry, excuse me, Keith. But he does have Tiny on the front of his lane, so I guess he calls himself that. Anyways, it's been over a year since we've had a report, Jeff, and I was just really concerned because I didn't know. I hear rumors of things that some people seem to know what's going on, but I personally need to know. So can we have some kind of a guarantee that we would at least have a report every quarter?
Mhm.
And that should come from probably Keith because he gets the reports.
Mr. Parkinson.
Just to give some history on that, before I started, I understand that Gary King stopped those monthly reports that used to go to council. So that's why there hasn't been a report, because we're just following the direction of the CAO. So if council wishes to increase in frequency or to go beyond what the annual covers, then that direction should be given to our CAO, and then he can provide that to us. Yep.
I think we can do that in this motion if you'd like.
I would like to, and I just further to what the deputy mayor said, we've been almost, I feel like we've been drenched with ammonia for how many years now? I don't know. How long have you been around, Jeff? 5 years, and we had problems before that.
For 13.
So I don't understand it all. I try to understand it all, but I do understand that we only have one problem. Is that correct? We have only exceedance in ammonia. So if we could know at least every 3 months, I think that's fair. And maybe we'll have something exciting to tell the users in 6 months. No exceedances. Hip hip hooray, because the alternative, maybe for whatever reason, I won't go into, but I'd like to at least see it every 3 months. So can we put that in the motion?
Sure can. So the motion currently is to receive the report, but we can add, and this is Councillor Anderson's motion and Councillor Bateman as the seconder, we could add and direct staff to provide update status reports on a quarterly basis. Does that make sense, Councillor Anderson?
I think it makes sense, yes.
Councillor Bateman? So we're adding and further direct staff to provide status reports on a quarterly basis. Not a bad idea at least until we get this ammonia issue under control. I think that's probably a good idea. Councillor LeBlanc.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
It's a very simple one. It's for Jeff. Jeff, If you have a sludge volume index or total suspended solids of above 300 to 700, what is the ammonia level that would be anticipated if you have rotifers coming out of your aeration chamber or presently coming out?
You say rotifers?
No, or rotifers or upper class protozoas.
Geez, that's above my pay grade.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Listen, in the world of sewage, you've got this complex stew of bacteria,
I know.
all these critters.
I can name them all.
Yeah, large and small. And at the end of the day, I think all we can do as engineers is say, here's your total solids. How it's really made up, that's a PhD question. But if your question was, if we have solids of 300 to 700, what's the ammonia going to be?
Yes, coming out of there.
Well, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Recently, we've been less than one with volatile suspended solids of 600 to 1,000 in the aeration cell.
That's SVI. Okay.
Well, that's just the concentration of,
That's right.
in terms of milligrams per liters.
A concentration of one, ammonia.
Yes.
So once those levels are kept there, we will have an ammonia level of 1 or maybe 2 or 3, that it won't meet the 14 that makes us exceed, correct?
Well, remember, we have to be under 14.
I know, we won't meet it, we'll be underneath it all the
We
time.
should be.
If we can keep that going.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think we should add to the motion that we never use the term pudding when describing our wastewater pollution control plant. But we'll just leave that one hanging out there. Does anyone need me to read the motion again? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. Next report is with regard to the construction of Sharp Road Extension. Mr. Poole, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight? Side button.
No, Your Worship.
Took a long time to get there. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receives a staff report regarding. This says the water pollution control plant. So we don't want to do that. So I've amended this motion, Councillors Anderson and Bateman, to read that council receives a staff report regarding construction of Sharp Road Extension. You okay with that, I assume, since that's what we're receiving? And the council authorized the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement between the municipality of Brighton and BN Construction Limited for the construction of 180-meter extension of Sharp Road in the municipal industrial park. And further, that council authorize a transfer from the contingency reserve of $228,956.23, a transfer from the water reserve of $85,171.55, and a transfer from the sewer reserve of $76,381.19. Is there any discussion? Councillor Bateman.
Just a quick question. When I'm reading it, and Preston probably knows where I'm going to go with this, that the company, because there's one road that I've emailed you a couple times about, we're going to stay on top of them, like when they're doing it. For those that don't know, there's Richardson Street has been, I'm not sure, have since the beginning of spring.
Yeah, I believe it was actually last November when they opened that road. But to speak to Richardson Street, it's moving forward. The sidewalk and curb repairs have been completed, and we're just awaiting our asphalt contractor to show up to pave that patch. And then to speak to the Sharp Road Extension, yes, we will have inspectors on site inspecting the work and quantifying what they do.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
And I just want to be clear that all of the funds, I know you just read it, are coming from reserves, and this isn't going to affect taxes, correct?
That's correct, unless we choose to replace those monies into reserves at the budget time.
Okay.
Yep. So, but not today, no. Anything further? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Our next report is with regard to a proposed public nuisance bylaw. Mr. Walsh, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Through the, Mayor, we do have one added piece of correspondence from the municipal solicitor on the bylaw for council's consideration. Nothing material, just a slight change in the preamble.
We did add that correspondence at the point of the agenda, and we did receive it by email. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council received the staff report dated October 5th, 2020, pertaining to a proposed public nuisance bylaw in response to public complaints and concerns regarding offensive levels of odor caused by growing of personal use cannabis. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. Our next report is with regard to Chapel Street parking. Mr. McGee, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this moment.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council receives the staff report dated October 5th, 2020, regarding a bylaw to amend and update the parking bylaw 126/2016. And further, the council authorizes the approval and execution of the amending parking bylaw as outlined in attachment number 1 attached here too. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Tadman, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you. How long ago was it that we put no parking there?
Mr. McGee?
Since 2016.
About almost 4 years ago.
And okay, through you to Mr. McGee. So have we had a lot of complaints about people not being able to park on the street?
Mr. McGee?
Not a whole lot, maybe a few that I can think of at the moment.
So we had reasons for having no parking there, and especially because parts of that street are quite narrow. So I wouldn't support this to change the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Bateman?
I was just going to ask when I'm looking at the changes to have certain hours and people say they have a need for it. I'm not sure how many had came forward. Where do they park after November 1st? Because that's when our bylaw kicks in that you can't park on the street from November 1st until is it April or? So
yeah,
what
but
do they
our,
do in between that period? Like
so November 1st to April, whenever it is, you can't park on the street from
7 p.m. till
11 p.m. till 6 a.m. or something. So that would be outside of these hours.
Yeah.
These hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So. Any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
Well, I would think that would be an extreme inconvenience for people if you can park for the night hours, but you got to be up and move that somewhere else. And where else do you park it if you don't want to leave at that time? So I like it, just no parking.
So the amendment would be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on just certain portions of Chapel Street. Anything further? Councillor Bateman.
I just, one more question, because Councillor Tadman mentioned, and we can all know it's a narrow street. So if we allow the parking on the street, what did perhaps Deputy, he's not here, but the Deputy Fire Chief, what do the emergency services think of that? Can they, with that parking there, can they safely get their vehicles down the street?
Sure.
I'm not sure if they've weighed in on it or not.
I think Mr. McGee has an answer to that question. Go ahead, sir.
I've looked at the roadway from Prince Edward to Maplewood, and the parking is actually only on one side. The other side would still be no parking. Because yeah, I figured if there was parking lot on both sides, it would be very narrow to get a vehicle through. So it's only parking on one side of each of the sections I provided.
Thank you. Anything further? Go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc.
Through your chair for Mr. McGee. I've only been on council for 2 years, and you said the bylaw started on the 2016. But while I was on council, citizens approached me that all the signs appeared at once on Chapel Street while I was on council. Maybe the bylaw was passed, but the signs were only put up on 2018. And then we had the residents delegation, the seniors, that when people want to have the nurses come and have no place to park and doing it. So having the parking from 8 to 6 a.m. at 6 p.m., allowing the nurses and stuff to come to VON, to come to these places or dialysis, to me, I can support this for this period of time.
I agree. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
Was it Chapel Street that we talked about? If that was Mead?
No, it was Mead.
It was Mead, but it had nothing to
It
do
was
with
Mead.
Chapel. that
No,
we-
we did receive information from people on Chapel with the same problem. That's what's precipitating this discussion.
That's why we're considering this?
Yes.
That's not what the bylaw officer said. Had few complaints.
Well, I think those were the complaints. Is there anything further? Is there anything further? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. Move into notices of motion and motions. We have 2 notices of motion this evening, which will come forward at the meeting of, what, the 21st of October? Is that about right? Give or take? Or the 19th? No? 19th. Yes, it is the 19th. Thank you. So the first will be moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Councillor Bateman, that staff review the benefits of the municipality remaining within Northumberland County or consider the possibility of either amalgamating with another county or standing alone as its own county, and further that staff consider the cost benefits of maintaining our own infrastructure. And the second one will be moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Deputy Mayor Vink, that staff consider the hiring of a part-time IT position for the municipality during budget deliberations. And I trust that the proponents of these will have a discussion with staff prior to the meeting of the 19th to understand the implications of these motions going forward. Unfinished business, there is none, so we move into bylaws. First is a bylaw to rescind bylaw for the purchase of the sale to SV Plumbing Lot 7. Moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. The council gives a bylaw. It's first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to rescind bylaw 042, 2020, being a transfer, to transfer title of municipally owned property, being Municipality of Brighton Lot 7 on Schedule B to the agreement to SV Plumbing and Heating. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. And the next bylaw is an encroachment agreement on Long Reach Road. I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council gives a bylaw. It's first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Brighton and Glenn and Tanya Hodgson regarding an encroachment onto Long Reach Road. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. And we move into reports of advisory committees of council, reports, minutes, and council reports. Councillor Bateman has asked that we discuss requesting council support to run for the AMO Rural Caucus position. Councillor Bateman, would you like to speak to this, please?
Pardon me? Sorry.
Would you like to speak to this, please?
No, just what I said earlier. I know it's currently for the 2 staff positions because 2 people dropped out on the AMO, but in my conversations with the gentleman that's on that correspondence and Mayor Harrison, who sat on the board of directors, recommended I still submit it. So if I have your support, fine. If not, then I wait for the next election.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by
Not municipal election. Sorry, I got to clarify that. The AMO election.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council, I assume we're supporting. Support Councillor Mark Bateman request to run for the AMO Rural Caucus position. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Good luck, sir. There are no reports or minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. We have no correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, or petitions. We have no FYI correspondence. So I will open the floor to question period. If anyone in the public gallery has any questions pertaining to anything that was on tonight's agenda, please come forward. There are none noted. We will take a 10-minute recess before proceeding into closed session. It is 8:21. We'll be back at 8:31.